All right. We are live. We are live. Welcome everyone, or welcome those of you that were waiting. But we're going to definitely be welcoming more people, of course, to this broadcast as we go. This is from Crystal XO, and I am your host, Crystal Jordan. I'm so excited to be with you guys on Saturday night. Hi, Kathy. My day has gone pretty well. I've had a good week. I've had a good week. Um, and I've been waiting to have this conversation about Married at First Sight. Now, I actually took a break. I did recaps on Married at First Sight. You guys can look back through my channel and see. I talk about a lot of different reality shows, and most of them romance based because I just believe that love is such a powerful thing and such an amazing thing. And I love to talk about it from a positive perspective. But Married at First Sight is actually like my favorite reality show, favorite love reality show, right? But I took a break because you guys know the last few casts have been crazy. Like there's just been things going on that irritated me, and I didn't want to talk about it. Namely, situation with Alyssa, and it just was a lot going on. But I said this season I got to get back on here. I got to talk to my people about Married at First Sight. So I don't know if you guys have had a chance to see the first episode. There was a casting episode that, of course, we got a chance to see the singles in San Diego, and then, Tyron just says, the last few seasons have been challenging. I'm going to say challenging, okay? But they took this season to the West Coast. And I don't know, like we've seen Louisiana, we've seen Atlanta. Atlanta was horrible. New Orleans was good because I actually like the couples that, got together, down two of the couples that got together in New Orleans. Boston, it's just been crazy. But I have high hopes. I have high hopes for this season, not because I think that more of the couples are going to stay together, unfortunately. Well, wait a minute. Before I get into all that, you guys, I want to welcome you all to the channel. Make sure that you subscribe. Make sure that you are subscribed. I promise you this is a great time to get on board. You can even join the channel because I'm working with a lot of sponsors. We want to be able to do giveaways and things like that. And so you'll be able to be eligible for some of that if you join the channel. But please make sure that you're subscribed so you'll be able to get notifications because there's a lot going on this season. We're going to be recapping every week Married at First Sight, which comes on, of course, Wednesdays on Lifetime. We also are going to get back to the business of recapping every week Ready to Love. You guys know Ready to Love comes back on at the end of this month, and they are in South Beach, which is a change. But anyway, I want to stay focused on Married at First Sight. I'm going to go ahead and run this video. And I did hear that Noi and Steve did get divorced. And I got to tell you guys, I know we're talking about San Diego, but I'm not surprised that Noi and Steve did not work out from last season. I felt like Steve was hanging on, trying to make things work because, of course, when you go on the show, you want to be able to be a success story. Noi not wanting to move in with Steve was a red flag to me. Like that just said, she ain't really 100% into this. Like you can't get married but stay safe. Like either you're married or you're not. Trust me, I am dealing with that now. You have to give your all. And after she went through the entire process and she still wasn't ready to move in with Steve, that just kind of let me know that they're just not. It's not really there, for them. I think they were trying to keep up appearances, but it's only so long. Reality TV stops when the cameras are off, and then you're on your own, and then that incompatibility it keeps rearing its head up. So I'm not surprised that they weren't able to make it. But let's see this. Let's start with this clip that's like a trailer for this season, and then we're going to get into the couples. 5 couples again, San Diego. I'm going to get into all that. It was some interesting things happening on Twitter on Wednesday. If you guys are watching the show, you can always tweet with me. My Twitter handle is @EnchantedPR, and I'll be tweeting during each show. So let's get into this trailer for this first episode from Married at First Sight San Diego, and then let's start getting into these couples, all right?
Pitching couples.
So, like, no sex ever?
I'm done with this conversation.
God! Is this boy saying to anybody?
Hot about romance
100% attraction.
and a tidal wave of drama.
You lied to my face. I don't even know you.
I will pack all your things. I will ask for a divorce.
Get stoked for an all-new season of
All right, an all new season of Married at First Sight. You guys, um, as you guys already saw in that clip in the trailer, if you watch, there are some huge issues with all these couples. Like everybody has huge issues. I think I'm gonna start here. Let's start. I think this is going to be. I actually want to start with. Let's start with Lindy and Miguel. That's the first couple that was highlighted on the show. So this is Lindy and Miguel. Lindy and Miguel, first couple. Okay, so again, very problematic. Lindy, we met Lindy. She is a former Seventh Day Adventist. She obviously was raised in a very conservative, very, very, very religious household. And it appears that she had to kind of break away from that. Like she found some hypocrisy or something that she doesn't agree with in the way that she was raised. And I think that colored a lot of who she is and also a lot of her dating experiences. In her little intro, they mentioned the fact that she was supposed to stay. Of course, when you were raised in a religious family, they encourage that you are celibate until you get married. And then she was, not cut out for that, and not everybody is. That's a very difficult thing to do. Um, and so she's got a lot going on internally to me. Like her own issues and kind of having an internal conflict with who she is going to be a problem in any relationship, because when you're still kind of fighting how you were raised and who you were and who you are, and then someone else has to deal with that, that's an issue. Okay, now aside from just that, Miguel is like a contra. He's a lot wrapped up into one. So I believe he's an engineer, but he's definitely like that nerd, kind of, he's into Dungeons and Dragons. And actually, we saw him come to the table with all of his friends, and they were all dressed in costumes. So I just know for me, I was raised in a very religious family, Pentecostal, not Seventh Day Adventist. So I can kind of speak a little bit to that, but I remember specifically that Dungeons and Dragons was something that we were told at church not to deal with. Now, the fact that Lindy is trying to break away from that may mean that she's okay with it, but I just think that his lifestyle and her lifestyle are not going to gel. She also is a very strong personality. Um, One of the other wives mentioned that she was just talking a lot and she kind of goes off on tangents. I think Lindy is getting to know who she is, right? And so in that process, it's very difficult to bring someone else in. So I see this marriage being extremely problematic because of the fact that these are two very extreme personalities. Lindy is someone that is just very talkative, very in your face, and then, like I said, the whole kind of coming away from her religious upbringing and being in kind of like a rebellion to that. Like she hasn't balanced out yet. And then, Miguel with the Dungeons and Dragons and the dressing up in a bear costume, that may take a special kind of woman to be able to get that and to be cool with that. He probably needs to be matched with someone that likes that kind of thing. Like there's there's physical attraction, and then there's chemistry, but then there's compatibility. And I think a lot of times we see like a person may be attracted to someone else and they may even have chemistry, personality chemistry, but that compatibility is what makes their lifestyles mesh. And I just don't think that Lindy and Miguel are going to have compatibility when it comes to that. She did say she had never been to a dance, and she was like, you could tell that even though she's saying that she doesn't believe in the way that she was brought up and she's anti that religious, she was almost like traumatized watching the girls at the bachelorette party dance with each other, and she looked very shocked. So I think we're going to see more issues with her throughout the season. I also think we last season, Jesus Christ, Lindsay, had that personality to just kind of didn't mesh with anybody else on the cast. There were people on the cast that were cool with Lindsay, but I think everybody understood why it was difficult for most people to get along with her. And I think Lindy has the possibility of kind of being like Lindsay, and not in a bad way, like in your face, but just very opinionated and different. And it's almost scary that her name is Lindy and that was Lindsay. It just feels eerily close. And I hope that's not the case. But I don't think this couple. I'm not going to give my total predictions on the whole season because we're just starting. But I'm just telling you guys, I see issues because of that whole thing. I think when you are someone that was raised in a very conservative and very strict upbringing, I think you have to really become find your own sense of balance, and then get balanced where you know what your foundation is before you bring somebody else in on that, especially someone else that is a Dungeons and Dragons fanatic as an adult. That may be a little much. So anyway, I'm a little concerned. We're going to say concerned. I'm a little concerned about Lindy and Miguel. I'm not going to give my prediction, but I'm definitely a little concerned. Okay. Okay. And now we're going to move on. We are going to move on to, let's do Mitch and hold on, Kristen, because let's just go there, okay? So this is Mitch and Kristen, right? Everybody see that? Mitch and Kristen. Mitch is extremely opinionated, and I think one of those people that is going to have, like, he's, even you could tell when the conversation with his friends, he is somebody that has like a difficult personality, right? He keeps saying that he's just Mitch, he's going to be himself, and I'm always wondering why people that are not malleable and not able to, like, not easy to get along with others, and are not, why do they get on the show? Because it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult when you have a personality that's very, very extreme. It's very difficult to meet someone new, and then you guys mesh and are able to work together because you are very, very stuck in what you like, and who you are, and those problematic personalities just don't do well, especially in a controlled environment, because you have not only you're meeting someone new, but then you also are in front of cameras and you have to be around other couples, and that's just something that, no, no. Now, Mitch concerns me, but Kristen, she mentioned in her story, you guys, I hope you saw this. If not, I'm going to give you all the tea. Okay. She mentioned that she was engaged before. And not only was she engaged, but she spent her entire savings on a wedding that did not happen because the fiance's girlfriend approached her and told her that they had been sleeping together the entire time of her engagement. And so she calls the engagement off, but she goes on the actual wedding destination trip with her friends. She called up her friends and invited them, and they all went. They showed pictures of it. Um, that is tragic. And I would have been like, well, can I get some of my money back? I don't know about taking my friends. I would like to see if there's some, or maybe there's a couple that I could have given it to in exchange for, maybe they could have given me 80% of my money. I don't know. That worried me that she was not able to get her money back. So she basically is coming into this. And I know that everyone can say that, you don't bring baggage. Baggage is not good. But guess what? If you have an experience like that where you first of all, why was she paying for the wedding? Why was she paying for everything? That's a problem. But the fact that not only was she paying for everything, but she lost everything, there's no way that that's not going to color that left her with PTSD. There's no way. Hey, there's no way that did not leave her with just a little bit of PTSD, probably a lot of PTSD. And now she's on Married at First Sight. You can tell that she believes in love. Anybody that would spend their life savings on a wedding to someone that and then find out the person is cheating on them, but they've invested all of their money, they definitely believe in love. getting married is very important to them. They are very into that. So the fact that she had that experience, it makes me concerned for her because I think, she's very delicate. She's hopeful, but I think she could be too excited and then not maybe realistic about the process. And then you have Mitch. She's paired with Mitch that is like very, very specific. This is who I am. I'm not changing. A lot of people don't get me. Ugh. And yes, he was picking up trash on the beach. I want Mitch to shave his head and keep it shaved. Not that that's any of my business, but it just was weird because some of the video we saw his head shaved, and then others it was not. I was just like, okay. But yeah, and then yeah, Tyrone mentioned that she didn't want to tell her father. You can tell that this is a girl that just is in love with the idea of being in love, and I think so many women, especially, have that issue. And when you're in love with the idea of being in love, a lot of times you are so focused on the wedding, so focused on the dress, so focused on the idea of being hashtag relationship goals that you're not realistic and you really don't have a good understanding of what it takes to make that work. So I'm gonna say that there is a yellow light for Mitch and Kristen only because, like I said, I think if Kristen had somebody that was a little bit more empathetic and compassionate, that I would feel a little bit more hopeful about their marriage. But I think that she's going to be off on a tangent. She's like our romantic, happily ever after girl. And then Mitch is like very black and white. Actually, that was a conversation that he had with his friend. He sees everything in black and white. He doesn't see any color. He doesn't see any gray. He's just, kind of set in his ways. And he's older than everyone else. He's like in his early 40s. And so, the older people get, the more set in their ways they are, so that could be a problem as well. I do believe that Mitch has a job. I actually, let me see what I put in my notes about him because I didn't put anything about his job, but I do think that he knows he's older than the other people there. Um, but I think that he needed a more grounded wife, and I think that Kristen needed a more compassionate, maybe somebody that does see life in color, and some gray. But I think he's definitely going to be somebody that gives us the real. Like, a lot of times guys will try to say the things, they're trying to be nice to everybody, but Mitch is like already, giving us the real because I like the fact that he did call out one of the other husbands. I'm going to get to that in a second. I can't even go there, but right now, because I got to save that until later. But I'm gonna say a yellow light for Mitch and Kristen, just because of the things I said. Like we got a hopeless romantic, and we got somebody that is not doesn't seem like they're romantic at all. So it's hard for those extreme opposites to balance each other out, especially if they're not open to that. And again, this is such a weird show because people come on this show and the entire time you're aware of the fact that this is married at first sight. That this is like, I'm automatically going to be married to somebody. I don't know how the person looks. I don't know anything about them. So at the very least, I need to have a lot of patience and need to understand that I may not get exactly what I want. But that's not what people do. They come on the show and they automatically assume they're going to get like this perfect physical vision and this person is going to think like them. And so I don't know. It's just, I guess, the craziness of going on married at first sight. So I'm going to say I don't think that Mitch and Kristen will erupt as badly as Lindy and Miguel, but I think we definitely are going to have to watch this. And this is going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult because I think I don't think Mitch is going to take anyone's advice. I think Mitch is stuck in his own way. I'm sorry, my dog is doing something she said need to be doing. Sugar pie, come here. Come here. Come here. My dog is out of control. I'm going to let you guys see her. She is out of control. She's hanging out with me during this married at first sight. Say hi. Say hi. Say hi. All right, this is Sugar Pie. Hey. All right. So just sit down here while we do this. So yeah, I don't think Mitch is going to take the expert's advice. I think he's going to be too stuck in his own way to do that. But we'll see. I do think Kristen is going to take their advice because Kristen wants love. She wants marriage. She sees marriage as like the goal. She's one of those girls that, believes I want this, I want that, and this is it. And I think a lot of times, like I said, when you're focused so much on the wedding and the marriage, you're not really thinking about, okay, what is it going to take to maintain this? Because it's not just this picture perfect thing. But I'm going to feel so bad if this doesn't work because it's going to be a double failure for her, or it's probably going to feel that way because of her having this experience where she got all the way up to getting ready to go down the aisle and then realized the guy was cheating. That's really hurtful. It was really sad to see that story. I mean, again, great that her and her friends went, but that's definitely not the way you want that story to end. So anyway, what do you guys think so far about Lindy and Miguel and Kristen and Mitch? Lindy and Miguel. Any thoughts, Lindy and Miguel, Kristen and Mitch? We're going to go on to another couple because we've got five. We have got five. And so let's look at, pull up here, who is in my notes next. Let's go to Morgan and Binh. Morgan and Binh. Okay, so that's Morgan and Binh. All right. So both of Morgan and Binh are both from of Asian descent. I think Morgan is like biracial, but she mentioned that she does have, I believe it was Japanese in her family, and she actually she actually is like a super badass. Like she's doing like martial arts. She's very independent. She recognizes that she has this culture that she wants to celebrate. She mentioned being like a samurai warrior, kind of feeling like that. She's definitely a badass female, very, very, very athletic, very, again, opinionated, and just knows what she wants. I do like her. She's a nurse. She's very, very, a little bit more down to earth, I think, than some of the other girls so far. And then Ben is an engineer. I get the feeling that he actually makes a lot of money. Like you could just kind of tell the way he was presented. He presented his conversation that he's very successful monetarily. But one of the things I liked about Ben is the fact that he said that engineering did not allow him to actually do things for people to make people feel good. Like he wanted to actually give back and feel like what he's doing and a part of his life is actually like benefiting others. He has that human feel. I love that. So he does things for nonprofits outside of just his engineering job. So I really like that about him because a lot of engineers are very black and white, um, very specific. Is that the coupon guy? You know what? I can't remember if he was the one that was talking about coupons, but I do think that he's not like, I think he makes money, but I think he's very down to earth. I hope this couple works. I love the fact that she probably should appreciate the fact that he has Asian is of Asian descent as well, because I get the feeling that she's kind of trying to learn a little bit more and celebrate her own traditions and cultures. And he seemed very I would say personable, right? I think that he's personal. I don't know if she's going to be attracted to him. Um, but I think he'll be attracted to her, and I think that they have a better chance. It's just she's a badass. I think she may be more of a badass than him. So that could present a problem. I think there are two couples like that. The girl is super tough and super in your face, and I mean not just tough, but like she's actually like a samurai, like doing martial arts and kicking ass. So that's a little bit beyond just a tomboy. That's another level, and just very knows what she wants. Doesn't want to necessarily fit into that conventional stereotype of what a wife is supposed to be. She's a girl's girl. I mean, she's like she wants to do things her way. She likes it her way. So we'll see. We'll see if Ben and Morgan are able to make things work. Um, yeah, her friends seemed a little surprised. I always like to watch the friends because and I think she could be a little too aggressive, especially with him because you could tell that he's not. You could also tell that he's very sensitive, right? But I'm always concerned when the friends, Sugar Pie wants to get in. She's just trying to get in the shot. Okay, you are in the shot, mom. But I think a lot of times if their friends are like saying that this is a bad idea and they really are surprised that this is happening, that's usually to me a red flag because your friends know your personality and it's almost like you see everybody, hey Tiffany, you see people's friends like, oh, I don't know if this is the best thing or this could be an issue. So I do feel like um, Morgan's friends made me a little concerned about thank you Tiffany, about just how this will work because Morgan's friends did not seem convinced that this would work for her. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna say this couple. I think has the best chance so far of the other two. I think Binh and Morgan more so, definitely more so than Lindy and Miguel, and maybe even Kristen and Mitch because I think that sometimes having a cultural connection can be powerful. And then I think he's that type of personality that I think will bend. And I think when you're talking about a marriage, it's important to have a personality that is able to be, to compromise and bend. And I think that he will be that way. So I'm kind of I'm open for them, but I want to go on record saying that if there is an issue, I think it would be the fact that Morgan is probably going to be a bit aggressive, right? And maybe a little too aggressive for Ben that kind of seems more like a mama's boy and just a nice person, but just he may need a less aggressive woman. So anyway, okay, now we're moving on. Two last couples I sense a lot of issues with, and so I saved these two for last because there's a lot we've got to unpack here, guys. There's a lot to unpack. So let's move on to Stacia and um, and Nate, right? So, okay, all right. First of all, beautiful, like absolutely gorgeous. I feel like they are one of um, the most attractive couples that we've seen on the show. Like they just look great together. He's got like a very handsome face, and Sasha is gorgeous, and her family was gorgeous. Like, did you guys see how cute her mom was? Her mom was absolutely adorable. Sister's beautiful. She's a beautiful girl. Boss chick, and that is the only thing that I was a little concerned about because she is so like rigid. People that are rigid, it's very difficult for them to kind of adapt in relationships, a relationship period, but especially when you're talking about a relationship that is made for TV, right? Because there's all types of things that you kind of have to fit into, and you're not in control. And Stasia looks like the type of woman and sounds like the type of woman that likes to be in control. She did mention that she was a boss chick numerous times. And I think that's dope. There's nothing wrong with that. A woman that's accomplished and successful. That's what there's so many of a lot of black girl magic happening, and that's nothing wrong with that. But I just feel like she is, has a very, very specific idea of what she wants. And I do agree with Kathy. They do kind of look like brother and sister, but just striking, absolutely beautiful couple. Now, I think that Nate may not be mature enough for Stasia. And now let me explain why I say that. I'm not saying that he's immature. What I'm saying is that because she is so accomplished and she is so matter of fact, I think that she may need a man that's kind of been there, done that, and is able to, that has been where she's at and is beyond that. And he can kind of, let her have her shine, let her do her thing and compliment that. But he's not, they're not doing this, right? Because he's already been there. He's already established. He's already good. Nate, I don't get that feeling from. We saw, the couples when they're the bachelorette party and the bachelor party. I was a little concerned at Nate's behavior. at the bachelor party. Even when he was getting his tuxedo, he was talking about how he wanted to, prove that he was so confident and come off a little bit arrogant. And then we saw that behavior at the bachelor party when he tells the girl to get on her knees with the whipped cream. I'm just like, yeah, that's not going to work with Stacia. Like, that's not, if he tries to come in with that bravado and the braggadocious, I'm the man, she's going to eat him alive. And that's what I said on Wednesday when I was watching. I was like, she's going to have him for breakfast because he's coming from this, I think that he was doing a lot of that for to make himself feel good. Like he kept saying, I want to make sure that when I walk in, she sees me. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like maybe he's not as secure as he wants to portray himself. And him trying to get a certain suit and then, telling the girl to get on her knees and trying to show that, that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work with Stassi. It's not going to work. In fact, even to the point where the other guys were like, that's a little bit much. I got our boy Mitch. Mitch was like, that's he's doing the most. He's just doing a little bit too much with the girl on her knees, a little bit. And I'm not saying that it was inappropriate because they were at a bachelorette party. I mean, a bachelor party, but it was just unnecessary. Like, I feel like he was trying to play up for the cameras, right? And this woman that he has, she is not going to go for it at all. I really feel like this is, aside from taking gorgeous pictures, and they would have children that look very much like them because they do kind of favor. I don't know if she's going to be able to be patient to find out the real Nate and to actually give him grace, or if she's going to be like that boss chick that's like, oh, he's crazy, he's not on my level. She talks a lot about her accomplishments. He didn't talk any about his at all. So, and even some of the other guys, were asking. We just don't. It doesn't seem like, I get the feeling that his career is not necessarily locked in where he's good. He's probably still building. He seems a little young. His friends seem just very different than her family and her friends. Like, everybody around her is like, oh, she's this and she's that. She's got it. And his friends are a little bit more laid back. So I don't see this one working. I wish it would because they look great together, right? But a lot of times, just because couples look good together does not mean that it's going to work. Like I said, you have the physical attraction is extremely important, especially from the man to the woman. I do not believe if a man is not attracted to a woman, I don't believe it will work. If every time you guys watch Married at First Sight, you guys know when the groom is watching the bride walk up the aisle, if he's not excited, it's going downhill. Men are not able to, like, find a middle ground. If they see a woman that they're not attracted to, it just never. And I'm not going to name all the numerous cases that we've seen that happen on Married at First Sight. So even though you're right, looks are deceiving, but if the guy is not extremely attracted to his wife, we're already operating in a negative space. It's not going to work, right? And then, second of all, there has to be some chemistry. So once you have the physical attraction, then there also has to be that, I don't know, it's like that je ne sais quoi, that chemistry of you guys having the same type of sense of humor, or at least being able to get each other's sense of humor, right? And then, like, how you view life, the way you take things, the way, if you are someone that is super, super serious, the chemistry is not going to be there with someone that's always playful. Like, you guys are just not going to be able to vibe, right? And then lastly is that compatibility, which is like the lifestyle. Like, if your lifestyle is moving around all the time, like, kind of like, I'm not settling down. I'm not a person that wants to make roots. I like to kind of move around, and someone else is a lot more conventional. That can be a problem, even if you guys are very attracted to each other, and if you have chemistry. That lifestyle, I'm sure everybody watching and listening knows someone that they had a great chemistry with, but their lifestyles just didn't mesh. You can't, especially when you become an adult, you can't. That does not work, right? So I think that all those things have to be in alignment in order for you to have a chance. And even with all those things in alignment, relationships still sometimes do not work. But at least if you're physically attracted to each other, you have chemistry, right? And you're compatible, you have a chance in hell. Without all those things, you don't have a chance in hell. Like you can't make it. So that brings me, I think, with Stacia and Nate, um, I do think that he's going to think she's gorgeous. I think that she may be attracted to him, but I think that his personality is going to quickly be a red flag for her. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong because I am a hopeless romantic at heart and I always want people to work out, but I just see her being that no nonsense woman. And a lot of times, women that are no nonsense are that way out of fear and not wanting to be hurt, right? But his very laid back, come as you may, I'm going to almost have this over the top, overcompensating confidence. She's gonna see through that, and that ain't gonna work out. Mm-mm. I I would hope that he could bring out a fun side of her, but she's gonna have to trust him first. In order for a man to be able to bring out the fun in a woman or to get her to relax, she really has to trust and respect him, right? Because if she does not trust and respect him, she's not even going to be open to being able to relax because her guard is going to be up. She's like, I'm accomplished, I'm this, I'm that. I want to stay on this path. And if she doesn't think that he's on that path, it's going to be hard for her to respect him as her husband. And then if she respects him as a husband and sees him as someone that she can potentially mesh with and not lose anything, right? Then she can let her guard down and start to have fun. But I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening, guys. I wish, but I just don't. I don't. Okay, now this last couple, I know I saved this one for last. Sugar Pie is all up in here. I'm gonna just what are you doing? Because what is happening right now? Um, last couple, the last couple, we're gonna have to talk about this for a few minutes. That's why I saved them for the last because there's just so much for us to discuss here. I want you guys to check out this video of Alexis and Justin, and then we're gonna get into this whole 6'8" women looking at my package debacle. Okay.
Justin, you may now kiss Alexis.
May I kiss you?
Yes.
Don't you know you give me that feeling?
I felt the passion back here. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce for the first time as husband and wife, Alexis.
Okay. All right. Alexis and Justin. Let's put them up on the screen. Let's put them up on the screen. There we go. There we go. Alexis and Justin. Y'all know. Okay. Every season, there has to be someone that throws us off a little bit in the intro, right? Justin is that person for San Diego. So he is 6'8", but he's not athletic, right? And he's not because and I'm saying this. Let me just start by saying I want him to find love because he seems like a genuinely sweet guy. I just don't think that he's ready for marriage, and there are several reasons why. Number one, okay, so when you're 6'8", that is really, really, really tall, right? And understanding that people make assumptions, we see people, we make so many assumptions based on how they look. Okay, so Justin kept saying throughout on several different occasions, he said to the experts when he first met Pastor Cal, he mentioned it again in his confessional, and then again to the other guys, to the other husbands, that when women look at him, the first thing they see him as a piece of meat, and they want to know, is he packing? Okay, let's unpack that. First of all, for women to want to know or to assume that a guy is good in bed, Now we all know that there's this stereotype of like the black mandingo. We can acknowledge that. Everyone should know that. If you don't know about that, look in a history book and you'll be able to catch up, get caught up to speed. So we know that there is this assumption and stereotype of the oversexed black male that's like the big black buck that's able to have like this so virile and is able to like throw you over his shoulder and make mad passionate love to you. I ain't mad at that. That's, it is a stereotype, right? However, I don't think that Justin necessarily fits that stereotype or that that monotype for most women. I'm not saying no women see him that way, but I don't think the majority of women, when they look at Justin, even though he is 6'8", I don't think that people are looking at him thinking that he's gonna like tear them down and be this sexual like lover. Like I don't get that energy from him at all. He does come off as slightly awkward, as most people that are that tall do when they're off a basketball court. And if they're not on a basketball court, we know that they're awkward because people are looking at them like, do you play basketball? Like, what do you do? Why, how are you that tall and don't play basketball? But that's not his fault at all. He can be an amazing person. You don't have to play basketball, but we know that's what is going on in most people's heads. When you look at Justin, to me, and you guys can let me know in the comments if you think, I'm off base. I just don't see him as that sexual take you type person. Like, okay, I'll give you guys an example. I feel like someone that would fit that was like 50 Cent when he first came out. Y'all remember the In the Club video? He's running on the treadmill. He's buff. He's like 6'1", 6 foot tall, buff, kind of looks a little dangerous, got some tattoos. Like that's the kind of guy that I think women assume is going to be really good in bed. I don't think that, and that's not wrong that Justin doesn't fit that, but I think that somehow he's confused. Somehow he's confused and maybe he heard that. Maybe somebody was curious, because I think women probably would be curious about, if you're 6'8", do all your organs accommodate that size? Maybe, but that's not really the first thing I would think looking at Justin. I would just be like, oh, he looks a little awkward, right? And then his body, and this is, I'm not coming from a negative place. It just doesn't seem like that take you type physique, you know? It's not giving that for me. So I think him saying that over and over again, and then he even mentioned that he is celibate, and he's been celibate for like 2 years, which I think is something that everybody should do, at some point, especially if you want something different out of sex than just sex. You want something lasting and something that feels substantial. I do think that being celibate is a good thing, but the way he presented it to us was that because women are just wanting him for sex, he just wanted to stop that. And I can't say that he's lying, because that may be his experience. What I think is that maybe he's confused. Maybe he's assuming that women are thinking that, and that's not really what we're thinking. So that's one thing. And yes, Kathy, there are people that talk about your shoe size, but he said that women look at him as a piece of meat. And I'm just like, even if he wears which I would hope he would wear a size 15 or something, because at 6'8", if he wears anything smaller than that, it's going to be awkward, right? Because he's such a tall person. But it just didn't give me sensual vibes. And I will say this, ladies, and for those of you that are watching with me, there's something sexy about a man that's comfortable in his own skin, right? So even if he doesn't look like the 50 Cent In the Club video, which I should have had that as a reference picture. But if you guys are not familiar, you can look it up on YouTube after this video, and I promise you'll get what I'm talking about. But like, even if does not look like that, if he's super confident and comfortable in his skin, that can give off like sexy vibes, right? And Justin doesn't come off that way either. He doesn't come off as being comfortable in his skin. And when a person's not comfortable in their skin, it's hard for other people to want to be in their skin. I'm just saying like that. Like, I think that when you're awkward, women or men, then the opposite sex kind of is not really sure what to do with you, right? All right, so that's my take on Justin saying over and over again that women look at him as a piece of meat. I think that hopefully, because I'm sure he saw the comments, and hopefully he'll have a chance to kind of work through where he's getting that from, because I think he's just confused, or maybe that's a way for him to deflect off the fact that he isn't sure. Because if you guys remember when he was trying on his tuxedo, you could see that he was a little concerned about her being attracted to him, right? So maybe that's just his defense for why he's not in a relationship. I don't know. Um, Sun Worshiper has a good comment. It could be non-black women were thinking that. Could be. I still just think that women, period, are not thinking, because I think sexual virility, when you're just talking about purely physical, like, I did my capstone paper on attraction, right? And what women, regardless of culture, right? And this is the majority. Of course, there's always going to be outliers. There's some women that, are on something different. But the majority, right, of women, when you think of the picture of what a woman is attracted to, it's usually muscular, not overly muscular, but muscle tone, broad shoulders, strong, because you want to feel like he can protect you, he can pick you up if you need to be picked up. Just different things like that. And I don't think that what Justin is giving us is that. Now, ironically, Alexis is strong and does have, it's like Alexis took Justin's muscles. She is also a badass. She is athletic. She plays football. And I was just like, is this not ironic that Justin asked the experts for a cheerleader and they gave him a football player? That's a little odd. Like, he literally mentioned in his request when they asked him what kind of woman he wanted, he said that he wanted a cheerleader, a woman that's like his personal cheerleader. They did not listen. They went and got a girl that actually plays co-ed football. And I, as a former cheerleader, can say to you guys, a girl that cheers and a girl that plays football, two very different girls. Nothing is wrong with either one, but very, very different. So I'm a little concerned on the experts not necessarily keying into that. Alexis is very, I would say the epitome of a tomboy, maybe even a little past tomboy, because tomboy is one thing. Tomboy may be like, okay, I wear jeans and sneakers. Alexis plays football. Okay. All her friends at her table, when we met her friends initially, were guys. That's concerning. Right? Like, I was like, Alexis is a whole dude. And again, it's nothing wrong with that. But I don't think Justin is obviously a lot more sensitive than Alexis. We saw him and his brother. His brother comes off more like a dad. And the brother was very clear about the fact that he does not think Justin is ready for marriage. And to the point that Justin acted like, you played football and you were a cheerleader, Kathy? I stand corrected. I'm just saying we're talking about majority. Now, outliers, I would love to hear about that. That is very different, because usually those are two very different young women. But as one of my viewers shows, maybe Alexis will be a cheerleader. I just know from my experience, and maybe cheerleading is different at this time, I didn't want to catch a football. You know what I mean? And I definitely didn't want to be tackled, at least not. But anyway, um, yes, the Justin is very sensitive, right? And I get the feeling, like I talked about with Lindy, that he's working through some things. Justin and his brother don't. They were. You can tell that there's a very different dynamic. The brother is more of a father figure. They must have different fathers or mothers. Something is different because they look very different. But he was clear. And Justin's response to his brother, when his brother did not support the fact that he was getting married, he literally turned into like a kid, right? He was like, I don't care if you don't support it. I'm doing it anyway. And he was just like, and well, buy it in. I mean, it's just totally immature. So that lets us know that he does not handle conflict well and handle disagreements well, because the way that he acted with his brother on camera, you guys remember that he was standing up there and he's like, well, bye, and but you could tell he was hurt, right? Um, he also mentioned his previous engagement. He said that the woman cut things off because she wanted somebody that was a little bit more established. It sounded like he was suggesting it was because of finances, like she wanted somebody that already had money and already was that. Again, I'm not a therapist, a licensed therapist or a psychologist, but I bet there was more to that than he is sharing, or maybe even than he knows. Um, I bet you there was more to that than just her wanting an older man, because she knew how old he was when they got together. For them to be engaged and then for her to, have an issue, there was something else going on. And he just doesn't, he comes off as someone who has good intentions, but just isn't quite settled in himself enough. Now, let's talk about my girl, Alexis. First of all, I think she has the most beautiful smile of Married at First Sight, in Married at First Sight history. Gorgeous smile. Bubbly personality. Definitely not the, um, I'm not going to say submissive because I hate that word. People take it so badly, but she's the youngest of three. I love the fact of her, how close she is with her mom. I can relate to that. But she again, all her friends were guys. That is a little bit of a red flag to me, because she has an idea of what the guys that she's around are like. Alexis was playing football and tackling with guys. Justin was out doing yoga poses. I'm a little concerned about that, just in again lifestyle, but even chemistry. So compatibility, I don't think they'll be compatible, because I think Alexis is tough herself, and I think you guys hear all the women talked about wanting like a manly man, right? She mentioned that she wanted a guy to be tall, but when she saw Justin, because we did see their wedding this last show, she did say that he wasn't her type. That was a nice way of her saying she wasn't really attracted to him physically. He was very attracted to her, which is a great thing, because, as I believe, as I said earlier, I think women, there's a little bit of a window if the guy shows up and is comfortable in his skin and confident and funny and relatable, even if she's not diehard attracted to him, but if she can find something to hold on to, it can work. If the guy doesn't see any attraction, we're out of there. But Justin is attracted. You could see he was just cheesing. He was like grilled cheesing the whole time. But I don't think I think that his sensitivity is going to be a problem. Now, you guys heard that Alexis keeps saying that she was engaged 3 times. That was also a red flag for me, not because she was engaged 3 times, but it's the way she said it. Like, she offers it up every time, right? And then she said, okay, like one was in college, and she said that one of the guys, she said a friend, right? Actually, two of the guys, she called them friends, not an ex. She said friend, and I was like, that's interesting, because a lot of times when you're friends with guys, and I've had a lot of guy friends, and I have actually 2 guy friends that I had this conversation with, because both of us were dating, and it's like, if neither one of us finds anybody by this time, maybe we should get married, right? Or you're just joking around like, oh, you'd be the perfect, because you guys are friends. But the fact that she referred to someone that she said proposed to her as a friend, that made me feel like the relationship wasn't really like a mature relationship, right? Not one that somebody got down on their knee after dating you, got down on their knee and proposed with a diamond. Like, that's what I'm talking about. I want to know, did these people have a diamond when they proposed? And had you been in a relationship? Because if you're referring to them as a friend from college, I don't know, girl. I don't know. That's not that's not necessarily a proposal. And then I don't understand. I know that the experts and the producers tell people to say certain things, but if anybody out there that's been proposed to, I mean, maybe women do go around and tell people that as like a way to brag. Like, I've been proposed to 3 times and I've said no every time. But most of the women that do that, it's not necessarily, again, a proposal from someone that got down on one knee after dating you and had a diamond and spent money on a diamond and really want you to be your wife. Like, I don't know that we were actually all the way there. I just feel like there's more to that story, just like there's more to Justin's story with his ex fiance. See, people, a lot of times when you tell people what happened in your past, you leave out important things because you tell the story from your perspective so that you look like the hero and the other person looks like the bad guy. But I bet if we talk to everybody's ex, Kristen too, Kristen, that the guy was cheating on her, not that there's ever an excuse for cheating, but there are probably red flags before the other girl reached out to her, right? And I say this to somebody that's been in a relationship, been cheated on. There's always red flags that we overlook. There's always things that we don't pay attention to, right? And unless you figure out what those things are, it's really hard to move on to the next. Um, Justin and Alexis, I don't think that's going to work. I just think that Justin needs to do a little bit more growing up. I like him very much. I think he's a nice guy. I just don't think he's ready for marriage, or at least not ready for marriage with Alexis. The fact that Alexis has got a lot of guy friends, she probably has a lot in common with some of them. And the fact of a lot of times girls that are able to hang out with guys, they think more like guys than girls, right? And again, that's not a negative thing, but it could suggest that because she's not attracted to him, that may be a problem. I think I'm going to be with you, Taronda. I got one in a possible. It's a one in a possible. So I think um, I think that Justin and Alexis are going to be very volatile because his behavior with his brother proved to us that it's going to be a long season. Right? I think I'm going to give Morgan and Binh the highest potential. Um, we're gonna come back and talk every week, but I just, Lindy and Miguel, I just don't see that. Now, if that one does work, Miguel is one of those people that I think can bend, but I don't know if he's going to be able to bend enough for Lindy. And then, yeah, I just, Stacia and Nate, great looking, but I think that's definitely not going to work, you know. But we'll see. We'll come back every week, guys, and we'll talk it through. I'll have more clips next week, and we'll work this through the entire season. I think that these shows are good because they do show people issues that they're dealing with, themselves. It's really like a mirror for people. When you hear people's confessionals and you hear their introductions, a lot of times you can see all those red flags immediately before they even talk. I know you guys want to hold out hope for Stacia and Nate. I don't see it. I don't see it at all because I just think I could be wrong, and I would be happy to be wrong, but I just don't see it. I don't see it, guys. All right, well, let me know in the comments who you're rooting for, who you want to see make it. I think it's going to be an interesting season. I'm also interested to see Devon Franklin is supposed to be joining this season. So we didn't see him in that first episode, but he is supposed to be showing up. I'm interested to see what his insight is going to be like. Pastor Cal does a good job, but I think we need somebody that kind of gets in there a little quicker. Like Pastor Cal and Dr. Pepper, I like both of them, but they will sit and wait and not be really in a person's face. Like, look how long it took everybody to call Alyssa out. Like, that was ridiculous. She kept saying she's a good person, but she was not a good person. From what we saw, she was not a good person. She was someone that was very stuck on herself, felt like she was better than other people, had no problem degrading someone because she wasn't attracted to them. So I just feel like they should have called her out on that. Like, not the fact that, forget the marriage. You said you hated him and he was a horrible person and you hadn't even had a full conversation with him. Like, that's ridiculous. Um, yeah, and Dr. Pepper did mention in this last, we got a chance to hear about her and her husband, and she doesn't live with her husband. I think everyone's marriage has a different dynamic. The only thing that's necessary for your dynamic is that you have chemistry, you have attraction, you have compatibility. If you have those three things, you guys can figure out your own dynamic. But if you don't, it ain't gonna work. So anyway, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me on a Saturday night. I am happy to be in the house as opposed to out the house. And we will be right back here next week, talking about Married at First Sight. Like I said, I have more coming up. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Trust me, there's so many things coming. We have an event coming up here in October. So many things coming, and so many sponsors. We want to be able to kind of do some giveaways and some raffles and things like that. So make sure that you're subscribed. Make sure that you join the channel so you can hear about things before they happen. The next week we will talk about Devon. I am interested to hear his perspective. I'm also interested if he's going to be transparent, about his own situation. I think it would be a little hypocritical for him to come on this show and not reference his own situation, especially because it was such a big headline and it hasn't been that long. So the fact that he just went through a divorce and now he's joining Married at First Sight as a expert means we need you to get transparent, sir. We need to hear, from you what's going on. But anyway, I'm going to get out of here. It's been an hour. I thank you guys for hanging out with me. I'll be right back here next season. We're going to do this all season long, talking about Married at First Sight, and hopefully we'll get some couples that actually make it. I do want to shout out Woody and Imani and their beautiful little baby. I am standing over this little baby. You guys have to go to their page, and Woody is just head over heels in love with his son. It's so cute to see. But I saw that they mentioned that Married at First Sight, there's like, I think 14 babies that have come out of the show. So there are couples that make it and go on and stay married, and we just have to hope and root for those. So anyway, I'm going to see you guys next week for more conversation on Married at First Sight. I will be right back here on Monday for Reality Check. And guys, I'm just going to let you guys know, since you're tuned in tonight, I am interviewing Duchess from Black Ink, New York Black Ink, and that interview is going to go next week because we're talking about Caesar that got into some trouble, got arrested. And after he lost his show with VH1 had a cease and desist that Duchess had to sign because they broke up and she couldn't say anything. But now that he's no longer with VH1, she's talking. And so I am talking to her. I cannot wait to share that with you guys. There's so much more coming right from this channel. So make sure you guys are locked in. If you ever want to reach me, you can always follow me at Enchanted PR on Instagram. You can follow me on Twitter. You can DM me. I answer DMs. I answer questions and emails and all that good stuff. But enjoy the rest of your weekend. I love you guys for watching, and I will see you right back here next week to talk about Married at First Sight some more. Have a good one. Bye-bye.